Hi, I'm State Senator Joe Markley from the 16th District, representing Southington, Wolcott, Waterbury, Prospect, and Cheshire. And I'm up here for the special session of the state legislature. It's a little after 2 p.m. on Thursday afternoon. And this will be a one-day session just of the Senate today. The House supposedly is going to come in next week. And the purpose of it is to pass the rather large adjustment required in our state budget, which did not happen before the formal end of the regular session on Wednesday of last week at midnight. I spoke at that point, as I've been speaking right along, about the development of this budget. The Democrats had brought a budget forward in its broad outlines before session ended, but they weren't able to get it down in black and white and to get agreement from their membership to pass it. So they've spent some time twisting arms to some extent, getting people on board, and finally giving us a look at what some of the details of the budget are. You've often heard me complain about having to vote for things without proper opportunity to examine them. The budget itself, we had basically, I believe on Sunday. Some of the supporting materials didn't show up at that time. The budget implementer, which again you've heard me speak about before, and which I think is one of the most dangerous pieces of legislation that comes out every year. A budget implementer is supposed to be a technical document to make changes in state statute to bring them in conformity with the budget. So if the budget requires that we reduce funding, for instance in this budget, the burial fees for indigent people from $1,400 to $1,200, we've got to make sure the statute that governs that also is reduced from $1,400 to $1,200. There should be no controversy about it at all. Over the years, many policy decisions have been slipped into the implementers, and you don't know about them until you have a chance to look at the document. This document was made available to us. Here it is. It is over 290 pages. It was made available to us this morning at about 3 a.m. I can't say I was waiting up at 3 a.m. to get it. I found out about it when I came in here at 9. And we've had a chance to go over it in its broad outlines. And let me say, it's obvious just from looking at it briefly that it's full of things which not only have nothing to do with the implementation of the budget, but have not even been discussed before this time. For instance, there's a new formula or a new procedure for hospital rate appeals when hospitals are getting reimbursement from the state for services they provide. I serve on the Public Health Committee. What they have put forward in this was never discussed. No bill to do this was ever talked about. I spent some time with the staff talking about what it means. Nobody I've talked to really seems to understand it. I'm going to go in and vote no because I'm voting no on the whole implementer. The Democrats are going to go in and vote yes. None of us are going to understand what it is we're voting on. Also, despite the fact that we're told that there's no tax increases in this budget, it in fact increases admissions taxes. So the tax that you pay when you go to a play, when you go to a movie, if you go to a golf course, if you go to a tennis club, just about anything that requires you to buy a ticket is going to go from 10% to 15%. Now that's not a tax you see necessarily when you buy the ticket, but believe me, it's a tax that you pay for when you buy the ticket. So the idea that there are no tax increases in this budget is simply untrue. Another thing about it that I have talked about before is that it makes dramatic cuts to municipal aid, both to education funding and to transportation funding for our school children, including students in parochial schools, the assistance we've been given for them for transportation, and also for aid to towns for roads. That is a tax increase by other means. To my mind, it's a cowardly way to do business, to say we don't want to raise taxes, so we're going to pass the buck, take the money back from the towns, and force them to increase the property taxes. Let me say that we all know that reductions have to be made. This is not the right way to go about it. The Republicans put forward a plan that was part of a 5-year budget proposal that we rolled out. You can find out more about it online. In fact, we'll put that website up on this video. We did not reduce hospital funding as this budget does. We did not reduce municipal aid as this budget does. We preserved funding for mental health programs that have been cut, centers for independent living. I just did a press conference last week with Democratic legislators who stood there and said, we have to preserve this funding for centers for independent living. But I am afraid that today they will vote to make those cuts nonetheless. We're in a tough spot, folks. And this budget does nothing to move us permanently forward. Again, it makes a number of false reductions, including giving the governor authority to cut $70 million wherever he wants to in lapses. Reducing personal services $255 million without specifying where we're going to find that savings. What we need is a budget that talks about long-term savings. What functions of government can we eliminate, rather than just saying let's back down on everything a little bit. Let's decide what we really need to do and focus on doing that right. And let's give relief to the municipalities by reducing the mandates that we put on them and the regulations we put on business. We've got to find a way to make this economy grow again, or we're constantly going to be coming back and inflicting pain on people. Anyways, I don't know how late we'll be here today. We'll be asking some questions to try to get some understanding and throw some light on some aspects of this budget. I feel in the Senate at least, it's a done deal. The House has not picked a date to go in. That indicates to me that they don't have the votes yet. I'd say if you don't like this budget, it's not too late to contact members of the House of Representatives and let them know that they ought to take another look at it and try to do something long-term for the good of the state of Connecticut. I'm Joe Markley, State Senator. Thank you for your attention, and I'll be back with a report soon.